Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loka Naya Karuna Gana Ganapam Prapta Sakaryana Gurunana Vasya Vande Guru Shri Charana Ravindam Prapta Sakaryana Gurunana Vasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrinda Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrinda Mahaprabhu ki Tana Nitya Gita Vaditra Madhya Manasura Sena Mahaprabhu Romancha Kampasru Taranga Vajo Vande Guru Shri Charana Vrindam Shri Vigrara Dana Nityanana Shringara Tanama Niramajanado Shri Vigrara Juktasya Bhaktamsa Niyunjatapi Vande Guru Shri Charana Ravindam Chaturvedha Shri Bhagavat Prasada Satmana Truptan Hari Bhakta Shanga Chaturvedha Shri Bhagavat Prasada Satmana Truptan Hari Bhakta Shanga Kripaiva Trupti Bhajata Sadeva Vande Guru Shri Charana Ravindam Shiradhikama Bhavayara Para Madhurya Leela Gunarupa Namna Shiradhikama Madhurya Leela Pratikshana Swadanalopasya Vande Guru Shri Charana Ravindam Ne kunja yuno ratikeli sidhai Jajali veri jokte apekshaneya Nikunja yuno Jajali veri Tatrati daksha ati balavasya Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam. Sakshadhari Dena Shamasta Shastre Ruktastatthava Vyata Iva Sadhuvi Sakshadhari Dena Ruktastatthava Vyata Iva Kintu Praborja Priya Eva Tasya Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam. Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada Yasya Prasadam Nagati Kutapi Yasya Prasadam Yasya Prasadam Dayam Suvam Tasa Yasatri Sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam. Dhyayam Stuvam Tasya Yasatri Sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam. Vande Guru Shri Charanara. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitina Mine Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunavadi Pachata Deshata Rine Namaste Nirvishesha Shunavadi Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Nama Krishna, Jadavaya Nama, Hare Nama Krishna, Jadavaya Madhavaya, Keshavaya Nama, Gopal Govindaram, Shri Madhusudan, Giridhari Gopinath, Madana Mohan, Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghuna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghuna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Pramanande. Jai Vishnupada Paramhansa Prabhajakacharya Sutara Sri Srimad. His divine grace अभयचरण भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। इस्कॉन प्रतिष्ठापित विधि समस्त भक्तचर वैष्णव शिरोमणि पतित पावन श्रील प्रभुपाद जी महाराज की जय। श्री गौरी गुरु वर्ग पतित उद्धार की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भक्त रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास गण सद्गुस्वामी प्रभु की जय। नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर जी की जय। अनंत कूच वैष्णव वृंद की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शुभाचार्य गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। परम दयाल श्री नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय। जय प्रेम नाम संकीर्तन के जनक प्रेम पुरुषोत्तम श्री सच्चिदानंद निष्मन गौरंग चैतन्य महाप्रभु गौर हरि महावरणावतार की जय। गोलोकेर प्रमधान हरि नाम संकीर्तन जग की जय। युग धर्म हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। बृहत मृदंग ट्रांसलेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सेवा की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड गिरिराज गोवर्धन की जय। श्री ब्रज वृंदावन मथुर धाम की जय। तेलोशिव श्री श्री राधा नील माधव की जय। शेष माया पूर्णवद्वीप एक चक्र धाम की जय। परम करुण श्री गौर निताय की जय। श्री पुरुषोत्तम चित्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। श्री श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी बलदेव प्रभु सुभद्रा देवी सुदर्शन चक्र भगवान की जय। सीताराम लक्ष्मण भक्त हनुमान जी की जय। भक्ति सर्व विघ्न अविनाशन करनी श्रृंगरे भगवान की जय। जगंगा माई जमुना माई की जय। तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री मथुरा रानी की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। निताय गौरी प्रमानंदे हरिबो। All glories to the assembly bodies, all glories to the assembly bodies, all glories to the assembly bodies, all glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru Shri Gauranga.
नमस्ते नरसिंहाय नमस्ते नरसिंहाय प्रहलाद लाद दायिने हिरण्यकाशी पूर्वसः
हिरण्यकाशी पूर्वसः
शिलटङ्कानखलाय
शिलटङ्कानखलाय
तो नरसिंगा पर तो नरसिंगा
ito nrsinga parata nrsinga
यतो यतो यामि ततो नरसिंगा बाहिर नरसिंगा हृदय नरसिंगा नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपद्ये
नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपद्ये
तव कर कमलवरे नखां अद्भुत सिंगा दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु केशवधीरता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे नव कर
नवकर कमलवरे नखा अद्भुत सिंगा
दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु केशवधीरता नरहरि रूप जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश जय नरसिंह देव जय नरसिंह देव जय नरसिंह देव जय नरसिंह देव
जय नृसिंहदेव जय नृसिंहदेव
जय भक्त प्रहलाद जय भक्त प्रहलाद जय भक्त प्रहलाद जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 प्रभुपाद
जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय प्रभुपाद
जय जय गुरुदेव 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 गुरुदेव
जय गुरुदेव
बोल नरसिंह भगवान की जय भक्त प्रहलाद की जय प्रभुपाद महाराज की जय
श्री वृंदाई तुलसी बाई प्रियाई केशव सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्यारे देवी शतवताय नमो नमः वृंदाई तुलसी बाई प्रियाई केशव सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्यारे देवी शतवताय नमो नमः वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशव सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्यारे देवी शतवताय नमो नमः श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की।
नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः
तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो
राधा कृष्ण सेवा पाबो एई अभिलाषी
राधा कृष्ण सेवा पाबो एई अभिलाषी
नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः
तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः।
जे तो मारा शरण लोए तारा वंचा पूर्ण हो
जे तुम्हारा शरण लो तारा वंचा पूर्ण
कृपा कोरी कोरो तारे वृंदावन वासी
कृपा करे करत रे वृंदावनवासी।
मोरा विलास कुंज दियो बार
मोरा विलास कुंज
नयने हरि बो सदा जुगल रूप राशि এই নিবেদন ধারো সখীরানুগাতা করো সেবাধিকারা দিয়ে করো নিজ দাসী দীনা কৃষ্ণা দাসে কই এই যে না মোরা হয়ে श्री राधा गोविंदा प्रेमे सदाए न भासी श्री राधा गोविंदा प्रेमे सदा जिन भासी नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्णा प्रेयसी नमो नमः Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha. Yani kani tani Brahma hatyadikani cha tani tani pranashanti pradakshina pade pade. Yani kani cha papani Brahma hatyadikani cha tani tani pranashanti pradakshina pade pade.
Yani kani cha papani Brahma hatyadikani cha tani tani pranashanti pradakshina pade pade.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jayo Tulsi Maharani, Jayo Tulsi Maharani, Jayo Tulsi Maharani, Jayo Tulsi Maharani.
Jayo Tulsi Maharani, Jayo Tulsi Maharani.
Jayo Vrinda Devi, Jayo Vrinda Devi, Jayo Vrinda Devi, Jayo Vrinda Devi.
Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi.
Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol.
Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol.
तुलसी देवी महारानी की जय, वृंदा देवी की जय।
Shri Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavatai Namo Namaha. Vrindayai Tulasi Devai Priyai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavatai Namo Namaha. Vrindayai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradidevi Sattvatai Namah. Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrindadevi Ki Jai. Oh Tulasi, beloved Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire to obtain the service of Shri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of you as wishes fulfilled, bestow your mercy upon him, you make him a resident of Vrindavan. My desire is that you also give me a residence in pleasure groves of Shri Vrindavan Dham. Thus, within my vision, I will always behold the beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower carry the answers of Raj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your unmet servant. This very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna praise. May I always say me love Shri Radha and Govind. Shri Mati Tulasi Maharani Vrindadevi Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shikhastakam Ki Jai. Chito Darpanamajanam Pavamadavanivapanam Shri Akari Vachandika Vitaranam Vidyabhadho Jivanam Ananda Purivardhanam Kaliparam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvanastam Paramparvajayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Vaudha Nija Sarvashakti Tatrati Tanyamittashmani Natavam Ikadrishi Tava Kripaya Bhagavan Mamapi Durdhaivam Idrisham Ya Janina Nuraga Trinadapi Sanichena Tarorati Saishnuna Amani Namanadena Kirtaniya Sada Hari Na dhanam na janam na sundarim kavitam vajagarisha kamaye mama janmani janmanishwari bhavatar bhakti rahaitu kitve ainandatanu kinkaram patitamam vishrame bhavambudo kripaya tava padapankaja stitaduli sadrisham vichintayo nayanam galorashrudharaya badanam gadagadarudaya gira Pulakarinchitam Bapukada Tavanamagrahane Bhavisati Jogaitam Nimeshena Chakrusha Prarusaitam Shunya Itam Jagata Sarvam Govinda Virahename Aslishva Padaratam Pinashtumam Adarshanar Marmahatam Karotuva Jata Tathava Vidadatulam Pato Mat prana tastu saivana para Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shikhastakam Ki Jai Namo Mahavarannaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Gaura Tushya Namo Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan moment is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings. And thus we have hundreds of millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all the transcendental energies. There is not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind. Thinking oneself lower than straw in the street, one should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your cause that is divorced from service, birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I am falling in this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes will be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? And when will the hairs of my body stand on the end of the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering one moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I feel all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he should remain so, even if someone touches me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Ki Jai, Namo Brahmane Krishna. There are 10 offenses in the matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord that should be avoided. They are as follows. 1. Blaspheme devotees who dedicate their life for propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider names of demigods like Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature's pursuits to the Vedic version. 5. To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretation on the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. 8. To consider chanting Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in the Vedas as fruit of activities or karma kanda. 9. To instruct the faithless person about the glories of the holy name. And 10. To not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy names, and to maintain material attachments, even after understanding so many instructions in this matter. It is also an offense to mean inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success, Krishna Prema. Now let us offer our most humble obeisance unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just our desires. They can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vanchakalpatarabhischa, kripasindubhyevacha, pattanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha, Vaishnava Thakur ki jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistara Bhuti Srimati Bhakti Srimati Namaste Saraswati Devi Guruvani Vichari Devi Sesa Sunyavadi Paskatiri Satani. Shri Guru Pranama prayers ki jai. Om Aganyati Mirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manubhishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutali Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Gurun Shri Jadaha Pachkamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaguna Ragunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Saidvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahaguna Lalita Shri Vishaka Nivitam Shah Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutali Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschatya Disatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutali Shrimati Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namini Shivasavanavi Devi Daitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Madhur Ujvala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktita Shri Gora Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute
Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Virudapa Apasiddhanta Dvantaharine Namo Gaurakishoraya Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye Vipralamba Rasambode Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachitananda Namine Vorasakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gauravir Bhava Bhumestvam Nirdesta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhoma Shri Jagannatayate Namaha Vanchakalpa Turabhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahapadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Guru Chuse Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Saktikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Sanamanustate Jayatam Suratur Bangor Mama Manda Bhatergati Matsarva Swapadambujo Radha Madana Mohano Divyad Vindaranya Kalpadrumadaha Shimad Ratnagara Simhasanastato Shimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Prastadi Bihi Sevyamanam Smaromi Shiman Rasarasarambi Vamsivata Tatastita Karsan Venus Manir Gopir Gopinatak Striye Struna Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Panchatattva Mahamantra Ki Jai Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavindam. Purported by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is always accompanied by His plenary expansion, Shri Nityananda Prabhu, His incarnation, Shri Advaita Prabhu, His internal potency, Shri Gadadhara Prabhu, and His marginal potency, Srivas Prabhu. He is in the midst of them as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should know, Mahaprabhu is always accompanied by, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is always accompanied by these other tattvas. Therefore, our obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are complete when we say, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavindam. As preachers of the Krishna consciousness movement, we first offer our obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by chanting this Panchatattva mantra. Then we say, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There are 10 offenses in the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, but these are not considered in the chanting of the Panchatattva mantra, namely, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is known as Mahavadanyāvatara, the most magnanimous incarnation, for he does not consider the offenses of the fallen souls, thus to derive the full benefit of the chanting of the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We must first take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, learn the Panchatattva mantra, and then chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That will be very effective. Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The transcendental vibration established by the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is the sublime method of reviving our Krishna consciousness. As living spiritual souls, we are all originally Krishna conscious entities, but due to our association with matter from time immemorial, our consciousness is now polluted by the material atmosphere. The material atmosphere in which we are now living is called Maya or illusion. Maya means that which is not. And what is this illusion? The illusion is that we are all trying to be lords of material nature, while actually we are under the grip of her stringent laws. When a servant artificially tries to imitate the all-powerful master, this is called illusion. In this polluted concept of life, we are all trying to exploit the resources of material nature, but actually we are becoming more and more entangled in her complexities. Therefore, although we are engaged in a hard struggle to conquer nature, we are ever more dependent on her. This illusory struggle against material nature can be stopped at once by revival of our Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is not an artificial imposition on the mind. This consciousness is the original energy of the living entity. When we hear the transcendental vibration, this consciousness is revived, and this process is recommended for this age by authorities. By practical experience also, one can perceive that by chanting this Mahamantra, or the great chanting for deliverance, one can at once feel a transcendental ecstasy coming through from the spiritual stratum. And when one is factually on the plane of spiritual understanding, surpassing the stages of senses, mind, and intelligence, one is situated on the transcendental plane. This chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is directly enacted from the spiritual platform, and thus this sound vibration surpasses all lower strata of consciousness, namely sensual, mental, and intellectual. There is no need, therefore, to understand the language of the mantra, nor is there any need for mental speculation or any intellectual adjustment for chanting this Mahamantra. It springs automatically from the spiritual platform, and as such, anyone can take part in the chanting without any previous qualification and dance in ecstasy. We have seen this practically. Even a child can take part in the chanting, or even a dog can take part in it. Of course, for one who is too entangled in material life, it takes a little more time to come to the standard point. But even such a materially engrossed man is raised to the spiritual platform very quickly. When the mantra is chanted by a pure devotee of the Lord in love, it has the greatest efficacy on the hearers, and as such, this chanting should be heard from the lips of a pure devotee of the Lord so that immediate effects can be achieved. As far as possible, chanting from the lips of non-devotees should be avoided. Milk touched by the lips of a serpent has poisonous effects. The word Hara is the form of addressing the energy of the Lord, and the words Krishna and Rama are forms of addressing the Lord himself. Both Krishna and Rama mean the supreme pleasure, and Hara is the supreme pleasure energy of the Lord, changed to Hare in the vocative. The supreme pleasure energy of the Lord helps us to reach the Lord. The material energy, called Maya, is also one of the multi-energies of the Lord, and we, the living entities, are also the energy, marginal energy of the Lord. The living entities are described as superior to material energy. When the superior energy is in contact with the inferior energy, an incompatible situation arises. But when the superior marginal energy is in contact with the superior energy, called Hara, the living entity is established in its happy, normal condition. These three words, namely Hare, Krishna, and Rama, are the transcendental seeds of the Mahamantra. The chanting is a spiritual call for the Lord and his internal energy, Hara, to give protection to the conditioned souls. This chanting is exactly like the genuine cry of a child for its mother. Mother Hara helps the devotee achieve the grace of the Supreme Father, Hari, or Krishna, and the Lord reveals himself to the devotee who chants this mantra sincerely. No other means of spiritual realization, therefore, is as effective in this age as chanting the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, if a person has difficulty uttering the holy names of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, there's a good possibility that they've been cursed by Yamaraj because they were too sinful in a previous life. So if you have difficulty chanting Hare Krishna, you better wake up. You better not cry. You better be good, because I'm telling you why. Yamaraj is coming really soon. So you have to be careful. You have to be conscious that chanting Hare Krishna is the essential connection to Krishna himself. So if you have difficulty saying the words or even chanting, like someone else chanted and chanted, you remain silent, that means you have a serious problem. And that serious problem is only going to get worse in the future. It's not going to get better unless you wake up. That's why there's the song, Jeev Jago, Jeev Jago, Jeev Jago. Wake up, wake up, wake up, sleeping soul. When a person becomes Krishna conscious, they become excited. Excited to be conscious as much as possible so they can hear and chant the glories of Krishna and to help others also become Krishna conscious. But if one is always a sleepyhead, then they become very greedy and very egotistical, and they only think about themselves. They don't think about other people. They don't care about other people. They just care about themselves. That's a very dangerous type of life, because one will become a separatist. You separate yourself from Krishna, you'll separate yourself from other people also, because there's no magnetism anymore. The magnetism is the relationship with Krishna, and because Krishna is the father of all living entities, then you become a friend of everyone. See? But when you're not Krishna conscious, you don't like to chant Hare Krishna, you don't like to follow Krishna consciousness strictly, then you become a separatist. And the separatist is number one failure in life. They'll fail in all their relationships. They'll fail in everything they do. So failure means at the moment of death you cannot remember Krishna. So you have to start all over again. And there's no guarantee what the next birth is going to be. So this Krishna consciousness is very important to accept as young as possible. One should not waste any time. Why? Because we don't know how much time we have. Someone who's 14 and who's going to die when they're 18 is already an old person. And someone who's 70 but yet is going to live to be 100, they're still a young person. So we don't know when we're going to die. So someone who's intelligent always thinks, I could die in the next minute. So when Maharaj Parikshit understood that he was going to die in 7 days, he asked the question, now that I know I'm going to die, what should be my duty? Right away, Sukadeva Goswami came, and it was clearly understood that the duty of everyone is to hear Srimad Bhagavatam every day, and Bhagavad Gita. Hear it every day, because our disease is forgetfulness. Due to forgetfulness, and first negligence and then forgetfulness of Krishna. As soon as we become negligent in following the regulative principles, and there's 8 principles, right? And the positive principles are regularly hearing Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, taking only prasadam, associating with devotees, and doing devotional service, visiting the temple regularly and doing devotional service. So these are very important things to do, very positive, and then avoid the negative things, meat eating, gambling, illicit activities, and intoxication. So it's very easy to be Krishna conscious. It's very hard to be a karmi, because you have to deal with stress. You have to have difficult relationships. You have to work hard. You have to get sick a lot and have problems with the body and the mind also. So it's very hard to be a karmi. It's very easy to be a devotee. But most people don't understand that. So they unnecessarily suffer in life. They unnecessarily are in stress. They unnecessarily have difficulties in their relationships. And then they're trying to relieve themselves by taking sleeping pills and intoxicating and all these different things. Okay, so We're going to hear again Canto 2, Chapter 9, and text number 9. But I'm just going to quickly read the purport, and then we have to finish the last 5 verses of the Brahma Samhita. Lord Brahma underwent penances for 1,000 years by the calculations of the demigods. So 1,000 celestial years is okay, so one celestial year is 2,160,000,000 years, and 1,000 celestial years is 2,160,000,000,000 years. Okay, so that's a long time that Brahma he meditated for 1,000 celestial years. So the calculation is in this purport. It says, Lord Brahma heard the occult sound tapa, but he did not see the person who vibrated the sound, and still he accepted the instruction as him, and therefore he engaged himself in meditation for 1,000 celestial years. One celestial year is equal to 6 times 30 times 12 times 1,000 of our years. So that is 2,160,000,000 years. That's one celestial year. His acceptance is, okay, but he meditated for 1,000 celestial years. So that's 2,160,000,000,000 years. Okay, so that's a long time. But that was his penance. And we explained what penance is. That is accepting voluntary suffering, or voluntary, let's say, punishment as a expression of repentance for having done something wrong. And, well, what did he do wrong? He still had a desire to be a creator. He wanted to create and manage a whole universe. So that's a desire. That's a material desire. Although it might be a lofty material desire, but it's still a material desire. So to see, he accepted this penance, severe penance for a very long time, in order to be able to learn how to dovetail that desire into Krishna consciousness. So then it says, and due to his correct vision, he made no distinction between the Lord and the Lord's instruction. There is no difference between the Lord and a sound vibration coming from him, even though he is not personally present. The best way of understanding is to accept such divine instruction, and Brahma, the prime spiritual master of everyone, is the living example of this process of receiving transcendental knowledge. The potency of transcendental sound is never minimized because the vibrator is apparently absent. So just because you don't see Krishna doesn't mean there's some weakness in or something different than Krishna in the holy name of the Lord. The Lord and the holy name, his holy name and mantra are one and the same. They're not different. All the potency of the Lord is in the holy name of the Lord. So this chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is associating directly with Krishna. You want to see Krishna? You don't have to see him, but you're associating with him by chanting Hare Krishna. And later on, he will reveal himself when we sincerely chant. See? So you want to see President Biden? Oh, no, you're not going to be able to see him. But do something exceptional, and he might invite you to come to the White House and see him. So in the same way with Krishna, you want to see God, it's not a cheap thing, but do something exceptional. Follow Brahma's example by taking seriously to chanting the holy names of the Lord. And then you will eventually see him. And he'll call you, and you'll be taken to him. So the potency of transcendental sound is never minimized because the person who made the sound, or Krishna, is apparently absent. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita or any revealed scripture in the world is never to be accepted as an ordinary mundane sound without transcendental potency. One has to receive the transcendental sound from the right source, accept it as a reality, and prosecute the direction without hesitation. The secret of success is to receive the sound from the right source of a bona fide spiritual master. Mundane manufactured sound has no potency, and as such, seemingly transcendental sound received from an unauthorized person also has no potency. One should be qualified enough to discern such transcendental potency, and either by discriminating or by fortunate chance. If one is able to receive the transcendental sound from the bona fide spiritual master, his or her path of liberation is guaranteed. The disciple, however, must be ready to execute the order of the bona fide spiritual master as Lord Brahma executed the instruction of his spiritual master, the Lord himself, Krishna. Following the order of the bona fide spiritual master is the only duty of the disciple, and this completely faithful execution of the order of the bona fide spiritual master is the secret of success. Now, in the previous verse, he started the purport by saying, to achieve success in life. And now he's repeated the secret of success twice. So most people don't know how to hear. So they'll hear something like this, which is extremely valuable if you want to be a success, and they don't pay attention to it. They walk away thinking, "Oh, that was a great that was a great class, high ball," but they didn't pick up what was said. It said, "This is the secret of success." The way Brahma accepted the instruction of Krishna, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he took it seriously, and he made the determination that I'm going to follow this. Without making that determination, see, because most people don't hear properly. They have too much earwax in their ears. So, it doesn't penetrate properly. But if you hear properly, so wait a minute. He's talking about this is the secret of success? That's what I want in life. I want to be successful. I don't want to be a failure. Just like right now, Elon Musk is considering resigning from his company. Why does he want to resign? Because he sees that he's going to be sued by the European nations and he's going to have some problems with the American government also. The American government is funding him. He got free money to do all his to develop his Tesla, and free rent and all these things. He got free because the government wanted him to succeed, right? But now that he's succeeded tremendously, and also he has the SpaceX thing, and he's flying high, but he sees how dangerous his situation is, because with all that responsibility weighing on him, it's a little too much, right? He has to make so many decisions, and now he's having this difficulty negotiating with the Chinese government, because he manufactures most of the Tesla parts and some Tesla cars in China, and the relationship with China has become very difficult with the United States, right? And he has to choose. He has to, just like the CEO of Apple also had to make a lot of concessions that are very bad to the Chinese, right? Otherwise, they'll get thrown out. You see how life is. It's very interesting how people get caught up in these difficult situations. Yes.
I also read that he was like, there is a sentence from him that he wake up in the morning till end. He was kind of fed up of this life, like every day just work. So he wants to move on to something else. That's another thing.
Yeah, well, let's hope that something else is Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
You see, even the most materially successful people, even Jeff Bezos, he said it's very easy for Amazon to go bankrupt. You read that also, right? Yeah. They know. They're telling the truth, If the Chinese say, okay, screw you, leave. We're not going to manufacture for you anymore. They're finished. They would lose tremendous amount of money in a very short period of time, right? And also now it's saying that, Elon Musk and his top management, they're selling their shares that's a very bad sign. If they start selling their shares, everyone sees that, and they realize there's something seriously going wrong. You see, if you want success, who's the most successful person in the whole universe? Brahma, Narada, the Kumaras, Vyasadeva. They're the most successful people in the whole universe, not just the Earth planet, the whole universe. And here we're hearing how they became so successful. We've been reading now. We're almost at the end of the second canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, and we read about Pandavas and Yudhishthira. We read about okay, now we're reading about Parikshit, right? We read about Bhisma Pitamaha. We read about Narada Muni. These are all people who are the most successful people, and here it's saying multiple times, this is the secret to success. I don't know if you actually heard this. You know, there should be a celebration. My God, today we got the secret to success. This is what everybody wants. They want success, right? Elon Musk right now, although he's succeeded so much, he realized that he doesn't want it, because that type of success is not success. It's torture. It is actually a type of torture. Every day dealing with problems, right? Whenever you have a responsible position in the material world, that means every day you're going to be dealing with problems. So how can that be a success, right? So you see, but if you're Krishna conscious, you can deal with the problems. Nobody had more problems than the Pandavas and Arjuna. They had gigantic problems, right? From their birth to the end of their life, they were dealing with problems all the time. But they were able to wade through all those problems and be successful because they had Krishna guiding them. Now, look at Brahma. Brahma, like Elon Musk, is like the microbe in the intestine of a bug compared to Brahma. Brahma's company is the whole universe, right? Imagine how big his responsibility is, right? But yet he's dealing with it very nicely. He didn't give up. He was not talking about giving up. But Musk, with a little company, compared to Brahma, his company is infinitesimal, and he's fed up. We should be able to understand these things. Of course, if everyone sleeps too much, and they don't really hear, and they don't come to classes, so this all escapes you. You know, it's one little blip on the news, but you don't see the big meaning of it. Okay, so Lord Brahma controlled his 2 grades of senses by means of sense perception and sense organs. Those are his 2 means of 2 grades of senses. He has sense perception and sense organs because he had to engage such senses in the execution of the order of the Lord. So what did Brahma do with the senses, right? This is our problem. Our senses are powerful instruments, and there's 2 aspects to them. There's sense perception and the sense organs themselves. See, in this one sentence, you could write a whole book of philosophy based on this one sentence. You see how powerful Prabhupada is as a writer. Even one sentence, you could write a whole book about it. Right? So, how do we deal with these 2 grades of senses, the sense perception and the organs of the senses? Well, we have to control them. Otherwise, they control us. So it says, Lord Brahma controlled his 2 grades of senses by means of sense perception and sense organs because he had to engage such senses in the execution of the order of the Lord. So instead of using those 2 grades of senses, sense perception and sense organs, to engage in illicit activities and wasting the time on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all these. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other web pages now that kids go to, you know, and wasting their time on sports, wasting their time on talking nonsense and doing nonsense. One should, if you want success, of course, not everybody wants to be successful. I know people that want to be failures in life. They say that too. I don't want to be a success. You go down and you talk to the people on the street, the homeless people. A lot of those people are happy being failures, because they can take drugs, they can engage in illicit sex, they can sleep anywhere they want, they don't have to pay rent, they can steal and get away with it up to $1,000 now in Seattle. They can steal, and they will not be prosecuted. So they have a lot of perks being homeless. They get Hare Krishna food and prasadam for free, right? And nowadays, they get. By the way, if they have half a brain, they'll get food stamps for free. They'll get medical for free. They'll get drugs for free. They have drug houses now, government drug houses. You can go in and get your cocaine or different drugs for free. It's all free. In fact, pretty soon people are going to catch on that if I become homeless, I won't have to work anymore. I'll just get everything free from Uncle Joe. You see? And why do you think the number of homeless people are increasing? The richer Bezos becomes, the more homeless people there are in Seattle. Why do you think that's happening? Because they realize, hey, wait a minute, I don't have to work. I can just become homeless and they'll give me everything for free. You see? This is dangerous. And now, why is it that they're having difficulty finding employees now? The lower level of employees, that work in restaurants and work in little companies. Because they're getting free things from the government. You don't have to work anymore. You just quit your job and go on the welfare, and the government gives you money for free. And sometimes it's more money than what you're earning, especially if you get $15 an hour or $20 an hour. The money the government gives them now for free, and all the free things, they get rent allowance, they get medical, they get food stamps, they get a whole bunch of things, right? So why should they work? And they don't have to be homeless either, because they're getting the rent subsidy. So what do? They work for black money. They take little jobs on the side. They don't declare it. And they get the government money, and they get all the government welfare program. So they figured out, I don't have to work. All right. So anyway, I'm not trying to convince you to quit your job, but I'm just telling you what's happening. There is a big cultural shift right now in the United States, and a different type of culture is coming out of it, Anyway, but if you really want success, then listen carefully to this, because this is the secret to success. Then it says, therefore, controlling the senses means engaging them in the transcendental service of the Lord. The Lord's order descends in disciplic succession through the bona fide spiritual master, and thus execution of the order of the bona fide spiritual master is factual control of the senses. Such execution of penance in full faith and sincerity made Brahmaji so powerful that he became the creator of the universe. There it is. This is the most powerful person in the whole universe, and his secret is being revealed here. Are we listening to it? Do we take it seriously? See, you have to ask that question to yourself, right? Am I going to take this seriously, or am I going to just say, oh, that was a nice class, and walk away? That's the question. You can't say, well, I didn't know. No. Here you're getting the lowdown, how to be the most successful person in the whole universe, right? And he's revealing his secret, the secret to success. Do we actually understand what's being said here, right? So he says, let me read that again. The Lord's order descends in disciplic succession through the bona fide spiritual master, and thus execution of the order of the bona fide spiritual master is factual control of the senses. Such execution of penance in full faith and sincerity made Brahmaji so powerful that he became the creator of the universe. And because he was able to attain such power, he is called the best amongst all the tapasvis, all people that perform sacrifices for a spiritual advancement. Okay, so that's our purport. Now we want to finish what we've been discussing for the last 3-4 days. And that is an amazing point. What is this amazing point? That is, if you're a karma kandi, that means you do pious activities, but you want material benefit from it. So there's a whole section of the Vedas, and there may be, so many millions of Hindus. 99% of them are karma kandis. 99%. There's close to 1 billion Hindus, maybe less, maybe 900 million. 99% of them are karma kandis. And most of the brahmanas are karma kandi brahmanas. They're performing sacrifices to help people. They have a backache, they have to pass the SAT, they had a heart attack, their business is not doing good, they're getting divorced. You can go down a list, all the problems, So they go to these pundits and they say, well, please do Satyanarayana Puja, or please do this Sani Puja. Sani Puja is the big one, right? One time a person came here and said, Prabhu, I have to speak to you. It's very important. I said, what is it? He said, I have to speak to you in private. I said, okay, don't worry. Nobody was around. You can go ahead. You sure? He said, you're looking around like this. I said, no, nobody's around. I said, look, you have to take this. I said, what is this? He had a hand like that. And he said, I did this puja, but I'm afraid I don't want to handle this anymore. You take it. I said, if you're afraid of it, how do you know I'm not going to be afraid of it? No. You're a pundit. You're okay, but please take this. So I said, well, what is it exactly? He said, well, I did this Sani Puja, and what was going on, it scared me. And then the pundit gave me this, and he said, I have to give this to some pundit. I said, well, if you're scared, maybe I'll get scared too. Said, no, you're a pundit. I said, okay, give it to me. So, see, this is what's going on. Now, you know about Sani Puja? You know about Sani Puja, right? What's it about? They're worshiping, what is it, Saturn, right? And Sani, I guess, is the deity that's in control of Saturn. And he... What does he do? He tries to get rid of bad spells and curses and things like that, right? But it can backfire also. So this guy was really scared, So I said, okay, give it to me. So I took it, and I was out, I think, in Bellevue somewhere when this happened. And he met me, and then he wanted to give me that thing. And then there was, I think it was near where the Trader Joe's is now in Bellevue. So I threw it. I just threw it away. I said, this is a waste of time, I'm going to carry this thing around with me. So this is going on. Like 99%, maybe 98%, I'm not sure exactly the number, but a huge number of Hindus are karma kandis. And a huge number of the brahmanas are karma kandi brahmanas. They perform sacrifices for material benefit. So here it's saying something amazing. He says, abandoning all, this is the verse, the last verse, next to the last, no, this is the last verse, the last verse of the Brahma Samhita, verse text 62. It says, listen, O Brahma, I am the seed, the fundamental principle of this world of animate and inanimate objects. I am Pradhana, the substance of matter. I am Prakriti, the material cause. And I am Purusha, the efficient cause. This fiery energy that belongs specially to the Brahman, that inheres in you, has also been conferred by me. It is by bearing this fiery energy that you you regulate this phenomenal world of animate and inanimate objects. Okay, now, I don't expect you to understand what we just read, but let's hear what's in the purport, because it's a very important point. Certain thinkers conclude that the non-differentiated Brahman is the ultimate entity, and by undergoing self-delusion, vivarta, exhibits the consciousness of differentiation, or the limiting principle itself of Maya. When it is limited, is the phenomenal world, and is itself the Brahman. In its unlimited position, or the Brahman, is the substance, and this phenomenal world is the reflection, or everything is an illusion of the jiva. Some think that Godhead is evidently a separate entity. Jiva is another different entity, and the phenomenal world, although it is a singular principle, exists separately as an eternally independent entity, or Godhead, and is the substantive entity, and all other entities, as chitti and achit attributes, are one in principle. Some suppose that by the force of inconceivable potency, sometimes the monistic and sometimes the dualistic principle is realized as the truth. Some again arrive at the conclusion that the theory of the non-dual minus all potency is meaningless, whence the Brahman is the one eternally unalloyed entity vested with the pure potency. Okay, now I'm sure you didn't understand one word. That's normal. This is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writing, but what he just explained were all the unbona fide speculations that are going around in the world today. All speculations about the jiva, about God, about Brahman, about this, about that. These are, and you could write a whole book on what he just said, right? All the different speculative theories of the universe and so forth. Now, the next paragraph says, these speculations have originated from Veda, relying on the support of the Vedanta Sutra. In other words, people have speculated, and the speculators are, Jaimini and Gautama and Kanada and so forth, Patanjali and so forth. They're all speculators, right? But they're very intelligent, or let's say very clever speculators. Okay, so then it says, in these speculations, although there is no truth that holds good in all positions, there is yet a certain measure of truth. This is the point. And we're going to elaborate that. Now, to speak of the anti-Vedic speculations, Sankhya, Patanjali, Nyaya, and Vaisesika, nor even of the Purva Mimamsa, which is fond of exclusive fruitive activity in conformity with the teaching of one portion of the Veda, the bodies of opinions detailed above have also come into existence by relying outwardly on the Vedanta itself. By discarding all these speculations, you and your bona fide community should adopt the ultimate principle identical with the doctrine of Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva, inconceivable simultaneous distinction and non-difference. Now, what he just said there was, look, all these things, they're speculations. But there's one thing that's the truth, and that's what Lord Chaitanya had taught, or Lord Chaitanya's teaching, that the absolute truth is Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva, inconceivably and simultaneously one and different. So now we're going to hear a little bit more about that. That is the real understanding. That this is what you would call the unified field theory that Einstein was looking for, and it's still unsettled. It's still not. You can go on the internet and you'll see modern scientists all saying we're still confused by how to establish this unified field theory, because that means you have to unify Einstein's C equals mc squared with quantum mechanics and with string theory and with this theory and that theory and the other theory, and put it all together in one equation like E equals mc squared. So E equals mc squared is only one little aspect of the whole unified field theory of how to explain all motion and all activity in the universe. So they have different speculations. Quantum theory is one, string theory is another, and so forth. And then Einstein's theories, they don't know how to do it, and they never will. But this Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva is the unified field theory. So now let's hear some more about it. This will make you eligible for being a true devotee. The basic principle is that this animate world is made up of jivas, and the inanimate world is constituted of matter. Of these, all the jivas have been manifested by my supreme superior potency, or para prakriti. And this phenomenal world has been manifested by my secondary apara prakriti potency. So prakriti means the energy of God, and therefore it's controlled by God. So there's a superior spiritual energy and an inferior spiritual energy. The superior spiritual energy is in the spiritual world, and the inferior spiritual energy is in the material world. Okay? So, the living entities, you and me, we're part of that superior spiritual energy. But the matter is part of that inferior spiritual energy. But both prakritis are controlled by Krishna. That's what the unified field theory is all about. Without Krishna, you can never find the unified field theory. But the equation of the unified field theory is Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. That is the equation. So everyone wants to have a mathematical equation to understand things. Of course, when it's math, nobody understands. So, but Einstein made a simple thing: E equals mc squared. So even that most people don't understand. But if you hear about it carefully, you can understand what it means. It means that energy is equal to the speed of light multiplied by the mass squared. Or so when you multiply mass squared by the speed of light, you get energy, and they're interchangeable. So that's how they made the atomic bomb, when they realized that you can release a whole lot of energy by breaking an atom, and all of a sudden you get this mass called the atomic bomb that appears, and it happens very quickly, like a flash of light, and it expands. So the atomic bomb, the father of it is Einstein, because of this formula, E equals mc squared. He understood a few things about the material nature, but only a few things. There's still a lot more things he didn't understand. Okay, so I regulate all of them by the power of my will, although I am not a different entity. This is Krishna speaking. I'm not a different entity from the marginal and material tatastha and achit potencies. So in other words, he's saying, I control all the living entities, I control the material creation, I control the spiritual world, right? I'm present everywhere in the material world as Paramatma and in the heart of every living entity. But yet I'm not affected by any of this, and I'm completely independent in my pastimes in the spiritual world. And sometimes I even come to the material world, he says, but I'm never affected by anything in the material world. So then he says, hence, although as regards the subjective nature of all potency, I am pradhana, prakriti, and purusha. So pradhana is the material energy in its, let's call it the inactive state. And the mahatattva is the active state of material energy when the time factor becomes active, and also all of a sudden things start to appear, bodies and mountains and things like that. And then so that could be called prakriti, because the whole material nature is controlled by Krishna. And then purusha, he's the supreme enjoyer, the supreme person. Okay? Yet, as the possessor of power, I am eternally distinct from all those potencies. This simultaneous distinction and non-difference has also sprung from my inconceivable power. So let the attainment of love for Krishna by the practice of pure devotion through the knowledge of their mutual true relationship that subsists between the jiva and jada or matter and Krishna, based on the principle of inconceivable simultaneous distinction and non-difference, be my instruction for being handed down in the order of spiritual perceptional succession in your community, meaning the Sri Brahma Sampradaya. That's our community. We belong to the Sri Brahma Sampradaya. Therefore, we have the unified field theory here in our movement, right? And it's called Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva, that the truth is simultaneously and inconceivably one and different. Like, for example, we are one with Krishna because we have an eternal soul, but yet our soul is minuscule. Therefore, we can be influenced by Maya. Krishna is an infinitely great soul. He cannot be influenced by Maya. But we both share the same quality of eternality. We were never born and we never die. Only the body is born and dies. Our soul is eternal because we're part and parcel of Krishna. So that is simultaneously and inconceivably one and different. And then Krishna, body and Krishna are one. Our body and our soul are two. You see? So because we have this duality in our life, it's hard for us to understand Krishna, where there's no duality between his body and himself. See? So when we say Krishna, we say, oh, well, he's like us. Right? He has one head, two arms. Okay, he might be blue, but you know, I'm brown, and this other guy's yellow, and somebody else is white. So what? It might be a different color, but he's got one head and two arms and two legs. So that means he has to be like us, and he has to have a material body. No, wrong. Krishna's body is not material. There's no difference between Krishna and his body. His body is completely spiritual. It's Satchitananda Vigraha. And then this person will say, well, he's just like me, it says that he had 10 children with each one of his wives, so, he must have had sex just like we do. No, it's not a fact. Krishna can produce as many children as he wants just by thinking about it. And his senses are not like our senses. Each one of his senses can perform the function of all the other senses. Our senses can only perform one function. Our eyes can only see. Our tongue can only taste. Krishna's tongue can see. It can taste. It can smell, and so forth. So there are many differences. So that's why it's inconceivably one and different. That inconceivability has to be there. Just like a father is inconceivably, or a mother is inconceivably one and different from the child. They're both members of the same family. They both share physical traits, right? But the child is a completely different person than the father or the mother. See? So it's inconceivably one and different. Because it's inconceivably one and different, people get into trouble. The father thinks, well, my son should listen to everything I say. But at one point, the son will say, I'm not going to listen to anything you say. They get confused. But wait a minute, I'm the one that made you. Yeah, but I'm a different person. You see? So you see, this inconceivably one and different thing is very sublime. So therefore, the son may be different than the father and mother, but we are not different than Krishna because we are part and parcel of Krishna. See? So we're not different, and we are different because Krishna has infinite powers. We have limited powers, but we do share eternity together. See? And we do share knowledge together, and we do share bliss together because we're part and parcel of the Lord. So our relationship to Krishna is much stronger and much better than a father's relationship to a son or daughter, or the mother's relationship to the daughter or the son. You see? Because we are part and parcel of Krishna. But we may only have this mother and father in this life. In the next life, we could have different mothers and fathers. In previous lives, we could have had different mothers and fathers. You see, so that relationship, the family relationship, is very, very superficial. But our relationship with Krishna is eternal. Therefore, unless we develop that relationship with Krishna, we are going to be miserable in this life. Okay, so we'll stop right there. This is Brahma Samhita. It doesn't mean we understand everything in the Brahma Samhita because we heard this just now. There's a lot more very subtle things. In one sentence, you could write a whole book. That's how powerful this knowledge is, and that's how powerful these Mahabhagavat devotees are, like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Srila Prabhupada. Okay, so who did their homework? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we'll start with you. Go. Sanidhi? Okay. You have to get your homeworks ready. Okay. Is there a microphone there? Okay, somebody else. Okay, who else did homework? Okay. Come on, Samart. Hari Curry. Hari Curry.
Prabhupada Ki Jai. So the assignment was to read the paragraph.
Okay, come a little closer to the microphone, yeah.
The assignment was to read the paragraph in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita that begins with the question, what is this consciousness? Right. We also have to read Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.1 to 4 and explain what is the false syndrome of I and mine.
Okay.
And give examples of people who are stuck in the throes of this conception of I and mine.
Go ahead.
The false syndrome of I and mine is described as a contaminated consciousness.
As a what?
Contaminated consciousness.
Yes.
I am is the consciousness where you think or think that I am the Lord, I am the ultimate enjoyer and the creator. When someone desires something material, he is put under the control of Atma Maya by the direction of the Lord. According to Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.1, the living entity in his material condition is dreaming falsely that this is mine and this is I. The dream is that the conditioned soul thinks of his material body as I, or falsely thinks that he is the Lord and that everything in connection with that material body is mine. Thus only in dreams does the misconception of I and mine persist life after life. This continues life after life as long as the living entity is not purely conscious of his identity as the subordinate part and parcel of the Lord. The Lord is the creator and the enjoyer, and the living entity is supposed to be in the mood of a servant for the Lord to enjoy. Srila Prabhupada also gives
So in order to enjoy, you have to be the servant of the Lord.
Yeah.
Okay, if we're not the servant of the Lord, we will think we're enjoying, but actually we'll be suffering, right? Because there's a law of nature. If you enjoy sense gratification, you must also, it's always followed by some misery. Go ahead. So if you really want to enjoy it, you should become Krishna conscious. Go ahead.
Srila Prabhupada also gives an example of this in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita. The legs move, the hands supply food, the teeth chew, and all the parts of the body are engaged in satisfying the stomach because the stomach is the principal factor that nourishes the body's organization. Therefore, everything is given to the stomach. The servant is supposed to be happy by serving the master, and by the master blessing the servant. In the same way, the Lord is the ultimate enjoyer. So we will automatically become happy when the Lord enjoys, because the Lord is situated in our heart. Only in this relationship we really enjoy. So the following are some.
So we really enjoy when we build up our relationship with Krishna. So it's what you call a associative enjoyment. Without the association of Krishna, you don't really enjoy. You're subject to the laws of karma, the laws of nature. So if you try and enjoy sense gratification, just like, let's say, someone says, hey, Samarth, beer is really fun. And you say, what, beer? Yeah, I mean, if you drink beer, it makes you feel really good and start laughing and have a great time. And you say, well, okay, maybe I'll try it with you guys. You're all my friends, and you're all drinking beer. And say, yeah, it's really good. We can get some, So the first time you drink beer, it tastes and smells like pee. You know what pee is, right?
Yeah.
Everybody pees every day, right? And then, so, you say, wow, it's not like, a strawberry shortcake, or it's not like, let's say, like a persimmon or something like that. This smells like pee. It tastes like it too, But everyone's telling you how great it is, right? And they say, well, drink a little bit more, you'll like it, You have to drink a little more. So you drink. All of a sudden you become a little bit drunk, because you never had alcohol in your body like that before. And it goes up, and as you breathe, your blood circulates and it comes up to your brain, and you start getting all wobbly and a little bit, you feel a little sick, and then you start throwing up. And everyone says, yeah, well, how was it, Samarth? It was a lot of fun, wasn't it? I said, well, I don't know. I ended up throwing up, and I had a terrible headache the next day. And yeah, it was fun, yeah. Well, you have to say it's fun because everyone else is saying it's fun. Right? But actually, it was miserable, you see? So this is the problem, that we can become convinced by associating with bad people that something horrible is actually wonderful, right? And something that, you made you throw up and smell like pee, that's actually good, right? So you have to be very careful in this material world who you associate with. But if you associate with Krishna, then you come to your real position, because you can be the secondary enjoyer with Krishna. Enjoy prasadam, enjoy kirtan, enjoy Bhagavad Gita, enjoy prasadam, enjoy nice relationships with nice people that don't drink pee, and so forth, right? Go ahead.
So the following are some examples of people who are stuck in the throes of this conception of I and mine. Ravana was so engrossed in his corrupted consciousness of I and mine that he even kidnapped Mother Sita. Ravana thought that he was the ultimate enjoyer, but in the end he was killed by Rama. Hiranyakashipu also had the contaminated conception of I and mine, as he thought that he was the Lord and sent Prahlad Maharaj to a school where he would learn that his own father is God. These two examples are demons that show the quality of a demon explained in Bhagavad Gita 16.4. Pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance. These qualities belong to those of demoniac nature, Osanaprita. Hence,
so those were all failures in life. Yeah.
Hence, one should have Krishna consciousness, where one is always thinking about Krishna, and that Krishna is the ultimate enjoyer and the creator.
Hari Bol, thank you. Hare Krishna. Next, Sanidhi. Hurry, Curry. speak loudly. Take your mask off. Speak loudly into the microphone. The microphone won't give you COVID, so don't worry.
Material consciousness says that I am the creator.
Oh, you have to first say what the homework is.
The homework is to read the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita and answer what is consciousness. And the second homework is to read Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9 to verse 1 to 4 and explain what is this consciousness of the I and mind and give examples of people who are in the throes of the I and mind.
Thank you.
So material consciousness says that I am the creator and I am the enjoyer. When Krishna is the creator and enjoyer. Just like the example stated in the intro, a part of the body cooperates with the whole body. The hands, legs, eyes, and so on are all the parts of the body, but they are not actually the enjoyers. The stomach is the enjoyer. Just like that, the whole body gets their needs, so that shows that the creator can enjoy just as the enjoyer does. Just when the waitress gets a good tip, the waitress is happy, and so is the customer. Only when a living entity is influenced by the divine energy of Krishna do they understand that the pure soul and pure consciousness is related to the body. But when we identify our soul with the body, then we are in illusion. When a living entity...
Wait a minute, I didn't understand. Read the beginning of that sentence again.
Only when a living entity is influenced by the divine energy of Krishna do they understand that the pure soul and pure consciousness is related to the body.
Is related to the body?
Uh-huh.
How is it related to the body? Huh?
My dad just helped me with this.
Well, the whole point is that it's different than the body. I mean, yeah, there's a relationship in the sense that the body is covering the soul, but the soul is completely different than the body. When you identify the soul with the body, that's the false ego. All right, now read the next sentence. Let's see what you say.
But when we identify our soul with the body, then we are in illusion.
Yeah, that's why I say, if you say it's related to the body, it's only existing, it's covered by the body, but it's different than the body. The soul is eternal, the body is temporary. When you identify the soul with the body, that is the false ego. Is that right, Prabhu? So is that a wrong sentence there? Huh? Okay, go ahead.
When a living entity is absorbed in material life, they are influenced by the external energy of the Lord, called Atma Maya. Everything depends on our desire. If we fix our desire on Krishna, then Krishna takes care of us. Else Maya takes care of us. When we are influenced by the external energy of the Lord, we think of ourselves as a material product, thus being affected by the reaction of material miseries. Material miseries can only be lessened by offering pure devotional service to Krishna. A living entity gets a body based on his choice. They have very little freedom to do what they want. When they identify themselves as the body, they make use of this little freedom. This means...
Wait a minute. They identify themselves as the body?
When they identify themselves as the body, they make use of this little freedom.
When they identify themselves with the body, is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
They can make use of this freedom.
Yeah, that's what it says.
Okay, I don't think it's right, but anyway, go ahead.
Make this little freedom.
You should have your mom help you with the homework.
I mean something that is material and would mean things that belongs to me. In this state, I am under the influence of material nature. We want to control and enjoy in this world, and thus we become attached to the things we can control. But do we actually own anything? No. Everything belongs to Krishna. As mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, verse 15.7, matter and body belongs to Krishna. Our real identity is that I am eternal servant of Krishna. I should be satisfied
any condition, and this happens only when I am surrendered to Krishna, because in Bhagavad Gita verse 18.66, Krishna says that if I surrender unto him, he will liberate me from all sins.
Thank you. Haribol. Next. Who's next? Yes. So your dad should help you correct what you wrote. Right? If I made a mistake, you can tell me, but I don't. There's a couple of statements there I thought were not correct. Read the homework.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Haribol.
The assignment was to read the paragraph that begins with the question, what is this consciousness, in the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita, and then to read the Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd Canto 9 chapter, 1st to 4th verses. Explain what is the false syndrome of I and mine, and give examples of people who are stuck in the throes of this conception of I and mine. Consciousness is all about identity, or I am. In contaminated consciousness, one thinks, I am the creator and enjoyer of the material world. The false syndrome of life comes from this contaminated consciousness, I and mine. Mine is the conception that we are the enjoyer. This conception of mine is prominent in the lower state, in animals and animal-like humans. For example, the karmis who abide by the Mamonist philosophy of working hard to lord it over the material nature. Srila Prabhupada explains, in the animal state of life, the misconception of mine is perceivable even in the category of cats and dogs, who fight with one another with the same misconception of mine. In the lower stage of human life, the same misconception is also prominent in the shape of, it is my body, it is my house, it is my family, it is my caste, it is my nation, it is my country, and so on. In the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.3. I is the conception that we are the creator of everything. This conception of I is prominent in higher states of realization, or in higher states of life, speculation of so-called sophisticated humans. For example, the Gnanis and the material scientists who create unauthorized human-centered philosophies that falsely present the living entity as the Purusha. It is stated by Srila Prabhupada, and in the higher stages of speculative knowledge, the same misconception of mine is transformed into I am, or it is all I am, etc. Purport of Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.3. The entire material conception of life lies on these false foundations of I and mine.
I'll read that last sentence again.
The entire material conception of life lies on the false foundations of I and mine.
So this is the point. We are taught in mundane knowledge that I am the enjoyer. And we're taught in spiritual knowledge that Krishna is the enjoyer. And I am the servant of the Lord. You see, this is so important to understand this. If we consider ourselves as the enjoyer, we will ruin our life. We'll waste our life trying to be the enjoyer, and we'll get frustrated like Elon Musk, who's much more successful than any of us are ever going to be, in the material sense. And he's frustrated because he's trying to be the enjoyer, but the more he tries to control the material nature, the more he becomes miserable. You see? So, are we going to learn this lesson now and avoid going through the same miserable exercises Elon Musk and Bill Gates and all these other people? Or do we just read it and not really take it seriously, not really understand what it says, and not take it seriously? This is the question we have to ask ourselves. Otherwise, what's the meaning of doing the homework if we don't actually learn what it means? So read that sentence again.
The entire material conception of life lies on the false foundations of I and mine.
There it is, right there. I and mine. Everyone's into the I and mine. I did this. This is mine. I did that, and that is mine. And I did this, and this is mine. Everybody's into that consciousness, I and mine, right? And that's based on the false ego, thinking that I'm independent of God and I can emulate God by controlling things in the material world. I control this house, I control this car, I control this company, I control this person, I control this, I control that. See? So we'll read it one more time.
The entire material conception of life lies on the false foundations of I and mine.
Yeah, so the conception of life means I am the enjoyer, I am the controller, I am number one. Everybody else is number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, infinity. So this false concept of I and mine is at the basis of the whole material creation. The material creation is a facility for people who are under this illusion of I and mine, and they try and develop it, and they, in the end, like Elon Musk, they get really frustrated and defeated because they realize I cannot control the whole universe. I cannot control everybody. I can't even control myself. How am I going to control somebody else? Right? But it takes a long time to come to that realization, and you can waste your whole life before you come to that realization. Go ahead.
Srila Prabhupada writes, the different positions of the living entities in the material world under multifarious manifestations of bodies are due to the misconception of mine and I. The karmi thinks of this world as mine, and the gnani thinks I am everything. The whole material conception of politics, sociology, philanthropy, altruism, etc., conceived by the conditioned souls is on the basis of this misconceived I and mine.
That's a big statement, because we respect all those people. So what does it say? What are those categories?
The whole material conception of politics, sociology, philanthropy, altruism, etc., conceived by the conditioned souls is on the basis of this misconceived I and mine, which are products of a strong desire to enjoy material life.
Right.
So that is explained in the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.2. So why do we forget our actual position and enter this material world once having a contaminated consciousness? Our soul is actually completely distinct from the material conception of life. But because the living entity is partially independent, he may wish to become independent from the Lord. In such a case, the Lord influences the forgetfulness and consciousness of the living entity so that they may enter the dreamland where they imagine to become the Lord.
Enter the dreamland. Go ahead.
Therefore, Srila Prabhupada writes, the living entity in his material condition is dreaming falsely that this is mine and this is I. The dream is that the conditioned soul thinks of his material body as I, or falsely thinks that he is the Lord, and that everything in connection with the material body is mine. Thus, only in dream does the misconception of I and mine persist life after life.
But Prabhupada says there's the daydream and the night dream. We're dreaming this I and mine during the day, and we're dreaming it at night also. So both are dreams. They're not real. They're just false imaginations. Go ahead.
This continues life after life.
The daytime when there's activity, it's not that the world doesn't exist. That's not the illusion. The illusion is I and mine. That's the illusion. The world is there. It exists because it comes from Krishna, right? It's real, although it's temporary. So it's not that the material world is an illusion, as the Mayavadis say. The illusion is this concept of I and mine. Go ahead.
Srila Prabhupada continues, this continues life after life as long as the living entity is not purely conscious of his identity as a subordinate part and parcel of the Lord.
By the way, when the Mayavadis say the whole universe and everybody in it is an illusion, they say that purposely to stop you from engaging in devotional service. But the devotees are saying, wait a minute, the material world is not an illusion. The illusion is thinking it belongs to me, and I identify with it. But when I accept that actually the whole material universe belongs to Krishna, and it's real, although it's temporary. So during my temporary stay in the material world, I should use everything in the material world in the service of Krishna. When you say the whole thing is an illusion, then you're basically Mayavadis are trying to stop you from serving Krishna by saying that. You see how vicious it is to say that everything is an illusion. We don't say everything is an illusion. We say the concept of I and mine is the illusion. Go ahead.
So that was taken from purport of Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.1. The contaminated consciousness...
So all your quotes are from the ninth chapter that we're in now, right?
Yeah.
See how important this chapter is.
The contaminated consciousness is false because we are neither the creators nor the enjoyers of the material world. Factually, Krishna is the creator and the enjoyer of everything. Our role is to be the cooperator in the divine will of the Lord. Pure uncontaminated consciousness is that I am the cooperator of the Lord's mission.
So that is real ego. It's not that everything belongs to me, I can control everything, I am like God. The real thing is I'm a cooperator with God. Whatever God tells me to do, and whatever that message comes through the disciplic succession, I'm going to do it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm determined to do this. I'm not determined to become I and mine and live a life of a dream. My reality is I recognize who I am. I'm the eternal part and parcel of Krishna, and this whole material nature belongs to Krishna. And if I engage it in a service, then I'll see Krishna in everything. Right, go ahead.
Our enjoyment or satisfaction comes from accepting and abiding by the pure, uncontaminated conception and serving the Lord. This is explained with an analogy by Srila Prabhupada. For instance, a part of a machine cooperates with the whole machine. A part of the body cooperates with the whole body. The hands, legs, eyes, and so on are all parts of the body, but they are not actually the enjoyers. The stomach is the enjoyer. The legs move, the hands supply food, the teeth chew, and all parts of the body are engaged in satisfying the stomach because the stomach is the principal factor that nourishes the body's organization. Therefore, everything is given to the stomach. One nourishes the tree by watering its root, and one nourishes the body by feeding the stomach. For if the body is to be kept in a healthy state, then the parts of the body must cooperate to feed the stomach. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is the enjoyer and the creator, and we, as subordinate living beings, are meant to cooperate to satisfy him. This cooperation will actually help us, just as food taken by the stomach will help all other parts of the body. If the fingers of the hand think that they should take the food themselves instead of giving it to the stomach, then they will be frustrated. The central figure of creation and of enjoyment is the Supreme Lord, and the living entities are cooperators.
So if you want to take one thing, remember one thing from the class today, the real I is, I'm a cooperator with Krishna. Right?
Yeah.
Just like in class, in kindergarten, the teacher said, who wants to be a peacemaker? Raise your hand. Oh, good. I want to be a peacemaker. Okay, you tell your mommy and daddy you're going to be a peacemaker. Well, today, tell yourself, I'm going to be a cooperator with Krishna. That's what we should remember from the class today. That means that you don't have a false ego, but you have to cooperate with everything Krishna says. Right? Go ahead.
By cooperation, they enjoy. The relation is also like that of the master and the servant. If the master is fully satisfied, then the servant is satisfied. So that is from the introduction of Bhagavad Gita. One may question, the Lord is a master, but isn't the living entity also a master in his own sense because he has the tendency to lord it over the material nature? Srila Prabhupada answers this. He writes, if the master is fully satisfied, then the servant is satisfied. Similarly, the Supreme Lord should be satisfied, although the tendency to become the creator and the tendency to enjoy the material world are also there in the living entities, because these tendencies are there in the Supreme Lord who has created the manifested cosmic world. This statement tells that yes, the living entity is like a limited Purusha because he does have these tendencies to control and enjoy the material world. However, these tendencies are limited reflections of the Lord, and they are provided to the living entity by the Lord himself, and thus the living entity is subordinate to the Lord. The solution to escape this illusory material world and to become fully satisfied is to change our consciousness from I am the creator and the enjoyer to I am the eternal servitor of the Lord. This is explained by Srila Prabhupada. There are many classes of men comprehending the same misconception of I and mine in different colors. But the real significance of I can be realized only when one is situated in the consciousness of I am the eternal servitor of the Lord. This is pure consciousness, and the whole Vedic literatures teach us this concept of life. Purport Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.3. So how can we get to this consciousness that I am the eternal servitor of the Lord? The process is explained again by Srila Prabhupada. So the science of Bhakti Yoga, of worshipping the Lord, glorifying the Lord, hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam from the right sources, not from the professional man, but from a person who is Bhagavatam in life, and being always in the association of pure devotees, should be adopted in earnestness. One should not be misled by the misconceptions of I and mine. The karmis are fond of the conception of mine. The jnanis are fond of the conception of I, and both of them are unqualified to be free from the bondage of illusory energy. Srimad Bhagavatam, and particularly Bhagavad Gita, are both meant for delivering a person from the misconception of I and mine. And Srila Vyasadeva transcribed them for the deliverance of the fallen souls. The living entity has to be situated in the transcendental position where there is no more influence of time nor the material energy. In conditioned life, the living entity is subjected to the influence of time in the dream of past, present, and future. The mental speculator tries to conquer the influence of time by future speculations of becoming Vasudeva, or the Supreme Lord himself, by means of culturing knowledge and conquering over ego. But the process is not perfect. The perfect process is to accept Lord Vasudeva as the supreme in everything, and the best perfection in culturing knowledge is to surrender unto him because he is the source of everything. Only in that conception can one get rid of the misconception of I and mine. Both Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam confirm it. Srila Vyasadeva has specifically contributed to the illusioned living entities, the science of God, and the process of Bhakti Yoga in his great literature Srimad Bhagavatam, and the conditioned soul should fully take advantage of this great science.
Read that last sentence again.
Srila Vyasadeva has specifically contributed to the illusioned living entities, the science of God, and the process of Bhakti Yoga in his great literature Srimad Bhagavatam, and the conditioned soul should fully take advantage of this great science. Purport Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.3. One must therefore take full advantage of the great literature Srimad Bhagavatam. The importance of Srimad Bhagavatam is again stressed by Srila Prabhupada in his concluding statements in Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.4. The sound of Srimad Bhagavatam is transcendental, and the resonance of the Srimad Bhagavatam is as good as that of the Vedas. Thus the topic of the Srimad Bhagavatam is the science of both the Lord and the living entity. Regular reading of or hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam is also performance of Bhakti Yoga, and one can attain the highest perfection simply by the association of Srimad Bhagavatam. Both Sukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit attained perfection through the medium of Srimad Bhagavatam. Purport of Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.4.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Excellent. Okay, so that's it, right? Nobody else? Oh, okay, come. It's a refreshing air hearing this, spoken by young devotees.
So
I wish I was learning this when I was at your age. That would have saved me a lot of trouble in life. Go ahead.
So the homework was to read the paragraph that begins with the question, what is consciousness, in the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita, and read Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.1 through 4 and explain what is the false syndrome of I and mine. The Supreme Lord is that of the Supreme Consciousness. We, being part and parcels of the Lord, are also conscious. In this world, the jiva and the material nature are prakriti. The living entity is conscious, but the material nature is not. Among the two prakritis, the jiva prakriti is superior, since it is somewhat similar to the supreme consciousness. But the jiva can never be supremely conscious at any stage of his life. The Lord is conscious of all bodies in this world, whereas we are only conscious of our own. The Lord resides in all of us. There isn't a single person in this world that Krishna is not in. Since the Lord is in our hearts, He is aware or conscious of our psychic movements. This shows that there is always a witness. We are never alone in any stage of our life. Krishna is always with us, and He is aware of every deed we commit. If a criminal commits some sort of crime without anyone knowing, he is under the perception that his task was performed successfully, since he wasn't caught. This is wrong. Externally, the criminal might have committed a crime without any living entity knowing, but this does not mean that there was no witness. Krishna is always watching. So the criminal might not face any jail time or any other punishment of that sort in the material world, but he does in fact become more entangled in the actions and reactions of his own karma. But we have to remember that karma is not eternal. It can be changed. If one acts in the mode of goodness, then all the actions and reactions from his or her past can be changed. If we adopt Krishna consciousness in our life and serve Krishna with utmost devotion in this lifetime, then we can be freed from our karma. So what is this consciousness? Prabhupada says that this consciousness means I am. So what am I? Prabhupada continues by saying that in contaminated consciousness, I am means that I am both the Lord and enjoyer. Every living entity in this world believes that they are the Lord and the enjoyer of this world. We think that we are independent and that everything we have today is simply because of us. In the contaminated consciousness, Krishna is not in the picture, because the living entity thinks that the world revolves around them. This is the two psychic divisions of the material world. I am the creator and I am the enjoyer. But in reality, the Supreme Lord is both the creator and the enjoyer. We living entities are part and parcels of the Lord. So we are neither the creator or the enjoyer. We are cooperators. Since we are subordinate to the Lord, who is the enjoyer and the creator, our duty is to cooperate and please him. We might wonder where the contaminated consciousness of I am the creator and enjoyer comes from. In Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.1, it is said that Krishna wants all of us to be with him as part and parcel. But since we have partial independence, we might not be willing to serve the Lord due to our desire of being independent. We were envious of Krishna, and we wanted to be like him. As a result of our desire, Krishna put us under the illusion that we are independent in this material world. We associate ourselves with the body. The moment we want to become Krishna, Krishna will make us forget our true identity. Prabhupada gives an example of a child. The child cries to have the moon from the mother. The mother gives the child a mirror to satisfy the crying and disturbing child with a reflection of the moon. The mother didn't give her child the actual moon, since that is an impossible task. So instead, she gave him the reflection of it. Similarly, we are the crying child, and Krishna is the mother in this scenario. We were crying for independence. Krishna knows that we can never be fully independent, so he put us in this material world, which is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. In this material world, we are under the illusion that we are independent. We living entities are dreaming of the false conception that this is mine and this is I. The dream is that we think that this body is I or independent. We believe that our true identity is this body. Along with this, we also believe we are under the misconception that everything in connection with this material body is mine. The false misconception remains with the jiva, or us, afterlife, or us, life after life, until we understand our eternal position with the Lord. Once we understand our true identity in relation to the Lord, we have finally woken up from our dream.
Very good. Hari Bo. Good. Okay, so our homework for next week. Is to read Brahma Samhita. Text number 61. Brahma Samhita, text 61. And in the purport it says, Brahma, this is the last paragraph. It says, Brahma cherishes the desire for creation in his heart. If that creative desire is practiced by conjoining the same with the meditation of obeying therein the command of the Supreme Lord, then it will be a subsidiary spiritual function, or guna dharma, being helpful for the growth of the disposition for the service of the divinity by reason of its characteristic of seeking the protection of Godhead. So, translate in simple English, this is where it says that one should become a cooperator rather than thinking in terms of I and mine. That's what this sentence is saying, and it's saying that this is a subsidiary spiritual function. This is the functioning right before you attain pure love of Krishna. Right? It's not completely pure love of Krishna, but it's very close. So it's called Guna Dharma, being helpful for the growth of the disposition for the service of the divinity, meaning Krishna, by reason of its characteristic of seeking the protection of Godhead. So when you chant Hare Krishna, you're asking Krishna, please protect me so I can engage in your service. And by service, if you continue the service, you will eventually attain pure love of Krishna. But right now, we need protection because we have a tendency to be attracted to Maya. Right? We have that tendency due to bad association, and there's so much bad association all around us. So if we engage, so Brahma has a material desire. He cherishes the desire for creation in his heart. That's coming from his previous life. So if that creative desire is practiced by conjoining, that means connecting it or dovetailing it to Krishna, then it says this by conjoining the same, this desire, with the meditation of obeying therein the command of the Supreme Lord. What's the command of the Supreme Lord? It's this verse in Bhagavad Gita which says, Sarvadharman prityaja, mam ekam saranam vraja, ham tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshishyami ma chaha. In other words, he's saying, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. In other words, if we surrender to Krishna, if we say, okay, surrender means I'm going to do what you say, Krishna. So that's what conjoining the same meaning the desire that you have, material desire that you have, with the meditation of obeying the command of the Supreme Lord. His command is surrender to me, right? So if you dovetail your desire to Krishna by following his rules and regulations, how you should offer the result to him, then it says that this will be a subsidiary spiritual function, Guna Dharma, being helpful for the growth of the disposition for the service of the divinity by reason of its characteristic of seeking protection of the Lord. Okay, so that just give you a little hint there. So read that verse, read that purport, and focus on that sentence that's in the last paragraph, and explain what does it mean exactly, right? What is he saying here? Is he using a lot of lofty language? But what is he saying exactly? Well, he's saying that if you become a cooperator with Krishna, then and you chant the Hare Krishna mantra in which you're saying, please protect me so I can always serve you, then eventually, by staying in Krishna consciousness, by engaging in devotional service, you attain pure love of Krishna and go back to Godhead. Okay? Haribol. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yes, you did homework?
I did half of the homework, so I'll finish it.
Okay, well, give us a half homework then.
Should I read it?
Yeah. half read it. Maybe tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow. Yeah, it's getting late. Okay, we have to do Guru Puja now. You see, everything Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes is in lofty language, but if you translate it into our simple English, it's the message, pure message of Krishna consciousness, and it's very, very profound. Very, very profound. Who is going to lead the kirtan? Is it Gopal Krishna? Oh, no. Okay. Who is going to lead? Who wants to lead? Who wants to chant? Go ahead, Samart. Gopal, when I said Gopal Krishna, his hat almost fell off.
Jayo Prabhupada, Jayo Prabhupada, Jayo Prabhupada, Jayo Prabhupada. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma Vando Mui Savadana Jahara Prasade Bhai E Bhava Toriya Jai Krishna Prapti Ho Ja Hoy Te Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chite Te Kohiya Aikya Arana kori ho mane asha Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Utama Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Asha Jai Prasade Pure sarva asha. चक्षुदान दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से, दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित, प्रेम भक्ति जह होते अविद्या विनाश जाते, वेद गाय जहरा चरियो, श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु आदम जनर बंधु, लोकेनाथ लोके राजीवाना, आह प्रभु कोरो दया देहो मोरे पादचाया, ए बेजास गुशु त्रिभुवाना, प्रभुपाद पतित पावना, जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले, श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे, निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramananda Pararaja Kanchasya Parasita Shri Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Dvaita Gadadhar Sri Vasati Gaur Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Samakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Mayapura Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Gangamaya Ki Jai, Jamuna Maya Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the symbols. All glories to the symbols. All glories to the symbols. All glories to Shiguru and Shigurango. Glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The lotus feet of our spiritual master is the only way by which we can attain the pure devotion service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can attain the
Krishna material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is a perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge.
He is my Lord,
Lord
Lord
of
of
earth.
From him ecstatic flame emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual
Master, the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord of Master.